Okay, so here we go. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining in. It's a great day today, and we are going to discuss budget 2021 and benefits for MSME sector. So this is one of the most sought after topic when we are having a lot of promotions as far as Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India, and the startup ecosystem is concerned. So we are definitely going to get more and more benefits and encouragement by government as well. So this session would help us understand that how do we connect our industry or our startup and get more benefit out of various benefits which are being offered by the government. So before we start, I would take a minute to welcome you all and introduce Simant as well. So thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining in and welcome to this event of PMI community. We are conducting such webinars every Saturday evening and we are a 1500 plus member network now. So that's a milestone. We also conduct walkathons every weekend and the challenge is to walk total 21 kilometers during Saturday and Sunday. So people walk around 11 to 12 kilometers a day and 5 days they rest or they walk as usual. But during the weekends, the idea is to walk more and regain the health. So that is the activity. Other one is I would say that in starting next month, we are changing the entire webinar experience and we would be sending calendar invites to all the AMI community members. So we will have only one. Uh, and I'm not able to anyway. So this is what we are going to do. Starting next month, you won't be required to register for all the webinars you wish to attend. You would get to know about the webinars and share it with all non-members. If you are a member, you would receive a calendar invite, and based on your interest, you can accept or you can reject the invite. So this is how we are starting next month. Now coming back to our session today. So indeed, it is my pleasure to welcome Simant. Simant is a great friend and astute professional of finance. He is having experience of 19 years with major domains like business strategy, fundraising, and capital management, MIS reporting, accounting, and legal. He is proven ability to positively improve operations, maximize profit through achievements, finance management, cost reductions, internal control, and productivity improvement. Using insights and experience gained over the years, Deepant is able to offer unique customized solution to the clients he manage. He is also founder of finance solutions company named as Agentio Corporate Services. Uh, Welcome, Simant. Thanks for joining us today and sharing your insights and knowledge with us. Welcome, Simant. Over to you.
Thank you, Chintan Bhai. Thanks for your kind words of introduction. I hope I am audible to all.
Yes, you are. I would request all participants if you can mute yourself. We will have a great session from Simant.
Chintan Bhai, you will have to either enable sharing for multiple participants or give me back the host thing, whichever works for you, because I am unable to share my screen.
Sure. Give me a moment. Okay, so now you are the host.
Thank you. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
So, good evening, everyone, and thanks for taking time on a Saturday evening for a topic which is slightly heavy, I would say. But I really appreciate all of you joining this session. I'll try my level best to make it as less jargon free as possible and make it easy for you to understand. So, without taking much more of your time, we'll start. Let's begin. So, what is the agenda for today? Broadly, we will be first throwing some light on what the budget 2021 has for MSMEs and startups in particular. And then we will be visiting some of the schemes which our government has announced over the last 1 year or so, including the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme, the performance linked incentive scheme, the ECLGS scheme, which is a emergency credit lender guarantee scheme, and also there are a clutch of schemes which have been in existence for quite some time for startups and MSMEs. We will cover that. Towards the later part of our presentation, we would be looking at some of the tips and tricks to manage working capital and cash flow, as well as we will then look at some case studies and finally wrap up with Q&A. Uh, may I request the participants to kindly mute themselves? There's a little bit of background noise which is coming. Thank you. So before we dive into this, I will just take a moment to brief you about our firm, not more than 2 minutes. We are a firm which is into management consulting, investment banking, and compliance advisory. And we have been in existence for almost 6 years now. We work with mostly SMEs and startups, and our practice verticals are around investment banking, management consulting, and legal and compliance. You can have more details about us at the website mentioned below. So, coming to the budget 2021 measures, and I have it was quite a detailed budget this year, but what I have done is I have focused mostly on the proposals which were there specifically directed to MSMEs and startups. Uh, First is the budget allocation has been more than doubled for MSMEs, and this will be not something which will be given directly to SMEs by the central government, so, but through agencies, it will have a trickle down effect. So, from allocation of 7,500 in the previous year to almost 15,700 crores in the current year, the government has doubled the support for MSMEs in the current financial year. Also, there has been a rationalization of duties on certain inputs, raw materials for MSMEs. Mostly it is custom duty reductions so as to support MSMEs which are into import and local manufacturing or trading. Then there is a proposal to set up 7 textile parks to generate linkages amongst MSMEs. Further, the budget has also proposed a creation of an asset reconstruction company and an asset management company. This is mostly to take over the bad loans which are kind of creating a stink in our financial ecosystem and leading to a lot of these banks and financial institutions ending up in trouble or support from the government. An important amendment which is there, which could affect people like us, is the limit of tax audits for SMEs has been increased from 5 crores to 10 crores, obviously, but there is a rider there. The government expects you to transact 95% of your transactions through digital medium and not via cash. So while the government is willing to trust you, you have to ensure that you are kind of adopting to the digital economy, and then you can have it easy as far as compliance and audit is concerned. Moving on, there are some measures on the income tax side. So for small taxpayers with a taxable income of rupees 50 lakh up to rupees 50 lakh, and any disputed income up to rupees 10 lakh, there will be a faceless dispute resolution committee being set up. Another important change which has been done in the budget is this whole concept of one person company has been given a significant push, and it will require certain other amendments also going forward, which we will kind of come to. But this is again a important change, the OPC, wherein the limit threshold limit of up to 50 lakhs in terms of capital and up to rupees 2 crores in turnover has been removed. So anybody can set up a one person company in India, and it can be converted very seamlessly now to a public or a private company. Uh, and earlier there was a limit of up to 2 years, and that the government has now removed. So these two changes are significant. Like if you want to start a business with the least amount of hassles, start with a one person company, and later on, as the business grows, you can convert it into any legal structure, which is a private or a public limited company. Further, NRIs are also allowed to incorporate OPCs, which was not allowed earlier. And there has been an amendment in the income tax residency requirements. So now a person has to just stay in India for 120 days, from which is down from 182 days to be able to considered as a resident in India. Further, the measures which have been uh, carried out is the establishment of a credit guarantee fund to provide portfolio guarantees under the CGHS scheme. Again, this is to incentivize other financial intermediaries like NBFC and all to lend to startups, because earlier only it was through SIDBI and some of the PSU banks this was being done. And finally, the existing provisions of Section 80 IAC of the IT Act, we will cover this thing also in later slides. What does this mean? Has been changed. So startups earlier incorporated between April 1st, 2016 till the time limit of April 1st, 2021, which is coming just now, has now been extended by another year till 31st March 2021. Uh, I'll be now going into my next slides, which will cover the Atmanirbhar Bharat and other schemes. But before that, I will just run a few polls just to get a sense of the audience mix today, because some of you people I know, some of the other people are known to Chintan, but just to get a hang of what is the audience mix today. And this is an anonymous poll, so you can please go ahead and vote in all the polls, and the results will be shared with you. So I'm launching a polling. We'll just have this for 30 seconds or so. Kindly give your answers. So this is just to know about your background. Which one describes you best?
I would request Mr. Rajiv to Gupte, Manoj Parab, and Deepak Chaudhary, kindly mute yourself while you are not talking, please.
Yeah, I'll end the polling in another 15 seconds. Kindly vote. I think almost 75% have voted. Request others to vote. So I'm ending the polling now, and I'm sharing the results. So we have majority as self-employed professionals and consultant in the webinar today, and which is 87%. But I think there has been a multiple choice. That's why it's not adding up to 100. And some people have classified themselves under two groups. But yeah, good to know the mix. So moving on.
Imant, if you can just go to the participant panel and then right click on Rajiv Gupte ji and mute himself.
Yeah. Just yeah, done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there are certain new government schemes which have been announced in the last 1 year, and we will be covering them in the next few slides. First is the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme, and this was announced by Prime Minister Modi on 12th May 2020. The five pillars of this scheme focuses on five different aspects. First is the economy, second is the infrastructure, third is the systems, fourth is on vibrant democracy, and fifth is pushing up demand so as to kind of increase the consumerism in our society. And the five phases of this Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme is first is phase one, which is focusing on businesses, including MSMEs, which we will be covering today. Second is for poor, including migrants and farmers. Third is around agriculture. Fourth is new horizons of growth. Fifth is government reforms and enablers. So this is just an overview, but in our presentation, we will be focusing more on what measures are there for the MSMEs and startups. Another slide on the overview of the scheme. So the total package announced was 10% of our GDP, which is 2 trillion, and 10% of that is 20 lakh crore rupees. This package included previous government actions which were already announced. Not by previous government actions, I don't mean the previous UPA government, but actions announced by this government only before the announcement of this Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme. And that was approximately 1.7 lakh crores, including the RBI announcements for the liquidity measures. Now, for finance minister and the junior finance minister announced the schemes for over a period of 5 days, which I feel it was more of a marketing thing. But nevertheless, there are some good measures in this, which we'll discuss. And this package consists mostly a mix of reforms, infrastructure building, support for stressed business, and also a certain amount of direct cash support. And on the right hand side, you can see the measures which have been announced in terms of the rupee components. I will be mailing this presentation to Chintan Bhai so that he can be sharing it with you all. So this will be ultimately reaching you. So coming to measures for business, they have announced a 3 lakh crore collateral free automatic loans for businesses, but that limit has ended. This was till 31st of October 2020. Between May till October, the scheme was running. So right now it is not relevant for our discussion. Also, what they have done is they have created a 20,000 crore subordinated debt for MSMEs. We'll deep dive into some of these proposals in the subsequent slides. Also, a 50,000 crore equity infusion for MSME through fund of funds. SIDBI is the nodal agency for this. The government further has changed the definition of MSMEs. It has included turnover based limit, which was earlier an investment based limit. Uh, Finally, the relevant measure, which is for our focus, is that they are also allowing MSMEs to participate in tenders, and that's why global tendering up to 200 crores has been disallowed. So these are some important measures. Besides that, they have created certain other interventions for MSME. They had waived off the EPF requirement by providing support up to 2,500 crores.
Huh? Yeah.
Just a moment. Yeah, sorry. And further, EPF contribution has been given for businesses and workers for 3 months up to 6,750 crores. Finally, there are a bunch of measures for banks, NBFCs, and discoms, and a 50,000 crore liquidity support via TDS, TCS reduction. So this is a interim measures. It is not like your tax liability is going away, but you are allowed to defer your tax payment by a year, and that has been calculated in the 2 lakh crore relief provided. Coming to the new definition for MSMEs, and this is important. So what I have done in this slide is the old definition and the new definition both are given. So existing is given at the top, wherein you can see that there was a criteria for manufacturing and a criteria for service. Unfortunately, there is no MSME definition for trading entities, and hence trading entities as such don't qualify for MSME support. If you are a manufacturing or a services entity, then you can claim these benefits. And as you can see from the screen, earlier it was a investment based in terms of what you are investing in your plant and machinery or office. That was the criteria for considering you as a SME. But now it has been changed as a mix of investment or a turnover. So, and it is a joint, it is not either or. So either और की जगह अगर आपका इन्वेस्टमेंट 1 करोड़ से ज्यादा है या फिर आपका टर्नओवर 5 करोड़ से ज्यादा है, so then you are classified as a micro SME. Similarly, if your investment is uh, 10 crores and above and a turnover is more than 50 crore, then you are a small enterprise. And finally, if your investment in plant and machinery is more than 20 crores and your turnover is more than up to 100 crores, sorry, then you are a medium entity. So this new definition has come into force from May 2020. Now, this is an important scheme, which is the production linked incentive scheme. So, any of you who's planning to set up a unit which is into manufacturing in certain sectors should kindly go to the government website, the Press Information Bureau or the METI website, and you'll get to know more details about this. I have tried to cover certain aspects of this scheme in the slides because this scheme is very vast and sector specific. We can't, for obviously lack of time, move into all the details. So, first is the tenure of the scheme. The tenure of the scheme is from FY 1920, and it is running till 5 years from this year, which is the base year FY 1920. So from 2021 onwards till 24-25, this will run. And what is the incentive? The incentive is anywhere between 4% to 6% of your incremental sales, which are on the manufactured goods in India. And this will obviously require certain investment on your side also. In terms of the new investment, it is not for existing units. So any new units being set up, they can get a direct cash incentive of anywhere between 4 to 6% of your incremental sales from the new unit. There are 11 segments, the details of which and the entitlement in terms of government outlay is specified in the next slide. And eligibility, as I mentioned, is based on your incremental investments and incremental sales. So moving on, we will just look at what are the sectors and what kind of outlay is there and who is the concerned department or ministry overseeing this. So for advanced chemical batteries, Niti Aayog and Department of Heavy Industries is overseeing this, and the outlay for 5 years is 18,100 crores. For electronic technology products, including mobile phones, MeitY, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, that is overseeing the project, and the outlay is 5,000 crores. There's a significant, I think the maximum amount of outlay is for automobiles and auto components.
Oh, walking palla.
And the Department of Heavy Industries is overseeing this. Then pharma and drugs. Just a moment.
Anti-dandruff. Head and shoulders. Anti-dandruff.
Chintan bhai,
weekly once now.
Can you identify the participant?
It's KR Krishna Kumar. Just scroll top. Means when you feel that जिधर भी माइक्रोफोन के ऊपर क्रॉस नहीं है ना वो म्यूट कर दीजिए. Regular washing வந்து normal anything அவரோட நார்மல் இருக்கு மேம். இல்ல இல்ல அது அம்மா வாங்கிட்டு வந்து கிளினிக் அது போறோம். Are you able to find out? Charcoal is for body wash. Wow. Hey Krishna Kumar, can you mute yourself, please?
Can't you mute everybody at the same time and then just
normal special occasion smell நான் சிண்டர் உள்ளத வைப்பேன். நான் வந்து அம்மாவுக்கு நான் தனியா ஒரு இது வாங்கி எனக்கு தனியா ஒரு இது வாங்கிட்டேன்.
There is an option to mute everybody.
हाँ, वहाँ नीचे है जो पार्टिसिपेंट पेन है ना उसमें नीचे है म्यूट ऑल करके है. चलिए.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we were looking at telecom. Pharma.
Time करो कितना?
Department of Pharmaceuticals is 15,000 crores.
कितना टाइम ले रहे थे देखना जो भी कर रहे हो.
Then textile products is Ministry of Textiles, which is telecom is Department of Telecommunications. The outlay is 12,195 crores. This is more for telecoms and networking products. Textile products, Ministry of Textile, 10,683 crores. Food products, Ministry of Food Processing and Industries, 10,900 crores. Then high efficiency solar photovoltaic cells and modules, that is Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, 4,500 crores. White goods, AC, LED, DPIIT, specialty steel, Ministry of Steel, and finally IT and hardware, MeitY, totaling to 1.52 lakh crores. That's a significant amount of outlay over the next 5 years. Coming to some of the initiatives which were there in the MSME Fund of Funds, which was announced, the 50,000 crores. And this has been announced earlier also in Modi 1, NDA government 1, which ran from 2014 till 2019. So they had announced a 10,000 crores fund of fund, which is basically a mother fund, which is supposed to lend to some other venture funds, and that will run the schemes in terms of lending to various startups, mostly in the form of either equity or a venture debt. And if you see on the right hand side, the total status of fund of funds is given, which is currently they have committed around close to 4,000 crores, and 53 alternate investment funds, which is the venture capital funds, which have been benefited, out of which they have already invested 3,582 crores in various startups, and 338 startups have benefited. Now, this amount has been increased to 50,000 crores, wherein the fund structure is supposed, like the government is still maintaining that we will give 10,000 crores, but another 40,000 crores will be bought in by these funds which are supported. Because of government support, they are supposed to raise another 40 odd thousand crores from external sources, and then invest in both MSMEs as well as startups. Uh, at this point of time, I think we should go into next floor. Just give me a moment, I'll launch it. So since we are looking at government schemes and we'll be looking at further more schemes, I would like you to quickly vote on this. Again, it will help me to understand how much details I need to get into while explaining. We'll have this for a minute and then quickly show you the results and move on. So I'm ending the polling. And as you can see, it's a pretty divided kind of audience. Some of you know about most of the schemes. Some of you know a little bit, but not all the schemes. Some of you are not sure, and 35% of you mentioned that you are not really aware. So we'll try to kind of go into more details as we proceed, and obviously there will be a Q&A section. So in case you are having still more doubts, we can discuss that towards the end. So moving on, this is the fund of funds which has been floated by government is an important source, especially for equity for startups and MSMEs, which are kind of profit generating and have a decent track record. They can kind of look at this as a first level of validation, uh, which could lead to either a IPO or a stock exchange listing. And these startup or the MSMEs should obviously look at SEDBI as an option to get your funding, equity funding. And this is the broad process as you can see in the screen. I will not kind of go through the details, but it will kind of gives you a overview of how SEDBI evaluates proposals, and how these companies eventually get funded by SIDBI or any of the funds which are supported by SIDBI. These details are available on the SIDBI Venture Capital website. You can visit it to find details, more details about this. Now, there is another scheme which was floated during this COVID times, which is called as Emergency Credit Lenders Guarantee Scheme. And this is basically to support MSMEs which are in this bracket, which is borrowers having up to 25 crores of outstanding as of 29th of February 2020, which was the beginning of the pandemic time, and up to 100 crores in annual turnover for financial year 2020. And what is the incentive being given by the government? Government says that, okay, out of your total outstanding credit as of that date, you can further get another 20% as a loan. Which are the entities eligible for this? Mostly all entities, if you ask, it is proprietorship, partnership, company, trust, limited liability partnership. So roughly all kinds of entities which are into business and which have a borrowing from banks can apply for the CCLGS scheme. There are no processing charges for foreclosure and prepayment, and there is no further additional collateral required. So whatever collateral you have given in the past, even if it is falling short, you can claim this scheme benefits. Now what we'll do is we'll come to some of the existing schemes, and there are a bunch of existing schemes which are there, and I'm sure many people know about this scheme. There are some schemes which are very common, and there are some schemes which are kind of hidden away, but yeah, the benefits are there to be taken, so we should go for it. So first is CGT SME scheme, and I'm sure many of you have tried this, because at least the entrepreneurs I interact with seem to know about this scheme. This is Central Government Trust for Small Medium Enterprise, CGT SME, and this is basically a trust formed by the central government to guarantee or underwrite loans taken by SME borrowers. So eligibility here is again registered SMEs under the Udyog Aadhar or Udyam scheme. Udyam scheme is the new scheme launched by the government again as part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme. We'll cover that also in one of the later slides. And any MSME which is registered is entitled to the CGT SME scheme benefits. The support is up to rupees 2 crore can be given, and that is collateral free, as you can see. So special preference is also given for women entrepreneurs and units set up in Jammu Kashmir and northeastern states. The cover given by the government is between 50 to 80% of the loan amounts. So banks, when they lend, if the loan goes bust, up to 50% of this amount, in case of the amount is up to 50 lakhs, then even 80% of the amount is guaranteed by this CGT, which is central government ka jo trust is, Credit Guarantee Trust for Small Medium Enterprise. That is kind of guaranteeing this loan. In case the loan go bust, we will pay 80% of the amount up to 50 lakhs and 50% of the amount up to rupees 2 crores. Unfortunately, banks shy away from giving this loan, and it is after a lot of persistence and follow up, you can succeed in this loan. So we will see one case study later, which I will narrate as to how one individual got this loan under the CGT SME scheme. Now coming to again most glamorous scheme, Startup India. It's a scheme promoted by DPIIT, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. Uh, Now, India is home to, as per our records, more than 60,000 startups. And out of that, almost more than 40,000 startups have been recognized by this Startup India regulator, which is DPIIT. So this figure is very impressive, but when we kind of go to the next number, that is not so impressive. Only 266 startups have been receiving income tax exemption under 80IC of the Income Tax Act. So any registered startup which is working towards innovation or breakthrough technology can apply for income tax exemption for 3 continuous years out of the 10 years of its existence. And that has been given only to 266 startup because there is an interministerial body which decides whether to give income tax exemption and not. So there is a very rigorous process and it's not easy to crack. Another interesting stat is India is the third largest startup country in this world after US and China. And startups have received almost 60 billion in funding in the last 6 years. That's a significant amount. Uh, Finally, India is having 36 unicorns. This is maybe a month ago. Now we have maybe 1, 2 more unicorns, which whose values are more than 1 billion based on the funding they have received. So since these are privately held companies, their valuation is basically perceived valuation by their investors. We will take an overview of the Startup India framework. These are the 3 pillars of Startup India. First is the angel tax exemption, and which is very important because in order to curb black money, what government had done is kind of taxed any premium which is received by startup over and above the perceived fair value of the share. So we all know startup receive a lot of premium in their valuation because their value is and the future benefits which will accrue from their operations or product. And that's why venture capital funds or angels bet early on these companies, and for that they pay premium for their shares. So as per law, any premium which is over and above the fair value was to be taxed in the hands of the company. Now, what the government has done in the last 2 years has exempted registered startup from this angel tax, uh, provided the capital raised is up to rupees 25 crores. Uh, Once you are recognized, the other pillar is around DPIIT recognition for eligible startup. So once you are recognized as a DPIIT startup, there are a bunch of benefits which are there. Like we saw for MSMEs, the benefits are there. Similarly, there are a bunch of benefits which you can kind of go through more details in terms of either there are incentives in terms of, let's say, a trademark or a patent registration wherein government reimburses the entire amount of filing fees and all. And also, if you are going through any lawyer or an attorney, the fees up to 1 lakh is reimbursed. So those kind of benefits are there. And then there are tax and regulatory benefits also which are there. So that is another benefit or pillar of Startup India. Finally, the income tax exemption under Section 80 IAC, which we discussed short while ago, which has been exempted. And we will again go into the details in this subsequent slide. So that is there for 3 consecutive years out of a period of 10 years. So startup, if it is making profit, it will not have to pay any tax. Now, what is the DPIIT recognition criteria? So that is basically the startup should not be more than 10 years old from the date of incorporation registration. That is number one. Number two, the turnover of the startup for any financial year since incorporation or registration should not have exceeded 100 crore. This limit was 25 crores earlier. Now, last year, this has been increased to 100 crores. And last but not the least is that the startup should be working towards improvement of product or process or on any scalable business model which is creating employment and as well as generating wealth for the country, business, economy. Now, coming to angel tax exemption. We have discussed this in part earlier, and the history and genesis is that this is a tax which has been coined basically for issuance in case company is issuing shares at a value which is exceeding the fair value, as I told earlier. Uh, all companies had to pay tax on that excess value which they have paid received from their investors. Now, this tax was started in 2012 by the then finance minister, Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, to prevent black money creation, because you must have seen there have been a clutch of cases around that time, around 2G scam and the whole Colgate scam, wherein the companies were created and the business houses which were tainted, like the DB Group and Reliance and all, they ADAG Group, they had invested monies into these shell companies at a very high value, and then the later on the company incurred fictional losses, and these shares were valued at a very less amount. So let's say one company receives money from any of these investors as 100 crores, and later on the company has incurred losses, and then the promoter, which is a politician, buys back that share at 50 lakhs. So this kind of transactions were being done. And when the CBI unearthed this, the government basically moved to prevent those kind of transactions. But in the whole process, startups were a collateral damage, because many startups are genuine. They are not into such black money creation and all. And then when they are already running short of funds, asking them to pay tax on money they have received from investors is really unfair. So there was a lot of representation from the startup industry to the government. And finally, in the budget of 2019, they were provided the relief if they fulfill this following two conditions, which is the entity should be DPIIT recognized startup, and then second was the aggregate amount of paid up share capital and share premium of the startup after the proposed issue or fundraise should not exceed rupees 25 crores. So that is the criteria as which stands as of today. Coming to the income tax exemption, which is provided in the Startup India scheme, and this is basically giving you exemption for 3 consecutive years, provided you meet the following conditions. One is you should be again as mentioned earlier, recognized startup with DPIIT. Only private limited or LLP is eligible for tax exemption. So let's say if you are a partnership firm and you register yourself with Startup India, you cannot get an income tax exemption. Or you are a one-person company and you register with Startup India, you cannot get. And third condition is that the startup should have been incorporated on or after 1st of April 2016. So this is the criteria for income tax exemption. Coming to another important scheme which is there and not many people are aware is the Udyam registration. So we saw in one of the earlier slides what are the criteria for definition of MSME in terms of investment or turnover ranging from as low as 1 crore to maximum turnover of up to 100 crores. Now, if you are following in that criteria, you should go ahead and register on this website. Please note there are a lot of fake websites. If you do a Google search, there will be a lot of kind of high on search rankings which will be presented, which are not government websites or authorized websites. They take some amount of fees anywhere ranging from 1,000 rupees to 5,000 rupees for registering, which is absolutely free. Government is giving this registration totally free. It is a 5 to 10 minute process. Once you have given your details in terms of your organization details and your Aadhaar details, one of the promoters or directors need to give their Aadhaar details, and it is linked via OTP. Then you immediately get to download a certificate, which is now named as Udyog. Earlier it was called as Udyog Aadhaar. And you are registered, then your benefit is all these things which are listed. So you are eligible for loans without collateral under the CGT SME scheme. You are entitled to subsidy on patent registration and industrial promotion. You can take overdraft facility along with interest rate exemption. So there are a lower rate of interest specified due to MSMEs being in the priority sector lending as far as RBI is concerned. ISO certification charges are reimbursed by a government agency. One more important thing which not many people know is concession on electricity. If you are operating a unit in even states where electricity is expensive, say like Maharashtra, you can approach the local electricity authority with your certificate of registration and ask for exemption. You can get as much as 20 to 25% concession on your electricity. Again, this varies from region to region and depending on the electricity provider. But yeah, there is concession which is given. You are given priority in government tenders, as we discussed, up to 200 crores. Government is trying to support SMEs. Then there are certain procedures which are easy to get, like licenses, approvals, and registrations. Under direct tax laws, also for small companies, the lower rate of taxes have been prescribed. And you are also allowed to take part in international fairs, and there are certain schemes wherein you can claim reimbursements. More details on the MSME website, ministry website, so you can go there and check that out. Now, since most of us, I am assuming, are from Maharashtra, or at least I am from Maharashtra, I am aware about schemes of government of Maharashtra and a lot of states, including Karnataka, Gujarat, Delhi, even upcoming states like MP, Bihar, Odisha. They almost all states have certain startup policies, and it's important to know those policies. So some of the major policies of government of Maharashtra schemes, uh, I have highlighted two important ones. One is the fintech policy to support fintech companies. Since Mumbai is the financial capital of India, the previous BJP government wanted to support and increase the clout of Mumbai as far as financial technologies is concerned. And that's why they came out with a fintech policy in 2018. Thankfully, the current MVA government is also supporting that scheme and they have not discontinued it. So the benefits under the schemes are available on the website which I mentioned. And there is some of the highlights are there is an accelerator program with API and sandbox and support. So basically, companies can go there and work in that sandbox environment and explore various technologies which can be kind of launched later on. Then there is a 6 months incubation support out of this India Bulls one in Parel, Mumbai. They have got a big office space, the Maharashtra FinTech Hub, and companies which are eligible for this support can work out of that space for 6 months without paying any rent, without anything. It is a full-fledged office infrastructure support given to fintech companies. Companies which are outside this purview, I mean, you can still apply, and if you are in other cities, or if you are in Mumbai but not working out of this fintech hub in Mumbai, you can apply and be eligible for hosting internet and electricity bill reimbursement up to rupees 3 lakh per annum. And further, there is a reimbursement of state goods and service tax, SGST, up to rupees 4 lakh per annum. for your sales and turnover. And finally, there is a reimbursement of office space. So if you are taking office space, co-working space elsewhere, so up to 4 lakh per annum, you can claim reimbursement from the government. So in totality, you can claim, if you see this slide, up to 10 lakh of cash benefits from Maharashtra government, early stage startups who are in the fintech space. Further, the Maharashtra Innovation Society, this is a new initiative of the Maha Vikas Aghadi government. There are a lot of mailers coming out for this. So they are providing technical and financial assistance for patents, and up to 2 lakh rupees for domestic patent filing. They are providing support. So this is over and above the 1 lakh rupees patent support from the central government. And they are also providing rupees 10 lakh support for international patents in case you want to file in US or other countries. They will support. Only criteria is you should be a startup incorporated in Maharashtra and operating out of Maharashtra. So as long as you are in state of Maharashtra, you are eligible for all these benefits. So we are kind of coming to an end of this part of the presentation, and if I have to sum this up, most of the schemes which have been announced in the last 1 year are old wine in new bottle, like the fund of fund scheme, or the basically other schemes which were merged to form the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme. But there are definitely a lot of benefits which can be claimed, including tax obligation waiver, deferment, and also cash incentives. So every business owner has to kind of look with a magnifying glass and see what benefits which can accrue to me, and use a mix of government schemes and smart financial management to maximize the gains and stay afloat in case of crisis, which we have just going through right now. What we'll do is now we'll move to the next section, which is the finance hacks, tips, and tricks. And I would like to launch my next poll at this moment. We'll have 2 questions in this poll. So we'll run this back to back because one is for startups and other is for SMEs. Kindly vote. Just another 5 seconds. Request everybody to vote, please.
I could get only one question. What's the second question?
It will come after, Chintan bhai.
Okay. I have responded for one question, so I thought that it will automatically pop up the next one.
So we'll take this. We'll first share the result of this. And
I was
then...
waiting like a good student.
So as you can see, again, a little divided opinion, pretty broad based, but what is coming out is 2 major. One is absence of good mentor advisor, which is the largest one. And the other is access to funds, which is debt or equity. And that's interesting to see that one thing which is also interesting is people have not chosen the absence of a good B school IIT tag, which I get to hear many times when I am interacting with founders who are not from IIT or good B school. So they say, since we are not from there, we are not getting enough traction or support. But yeah, so funding is definitely a challenge.
Or maybe in this set of audience, there are multiple people from IITs.
Could be. That's possible. So we'll quickly move on to the next question. Just keep in mind. And this is for SMEs. So kindly give your views. I'll be ending the poll, so request all of you to vote. So as we can see here also, it's broad based, but the three major reasons is access to fund, keeping pace with tech disruption, and economic recession. So yeah, definitely last 1 year or so, economic recession has kind of been one of the major reasons to affect MSMEs, and technology disruption is also kind of affecting them. So they need to keep pace with that. Funds is again a issue, and that's the major one coming out in this poll. So thank you everybody for voting, and we'll quickly dive into some of the tips, tricks for finance. Uh, why I wanted you to vote before seeing this slide is these are some of the opinions coming out from a broader poll or research. So the problems faced by MSMEs and startups are major is cash flow and fund crunch. That's something which has come out from our poll also, and that is besides that, if they don't have any collateral, they don't get any loan. Weak tech in traditional SMEs, they are not keeping up with the times. The whole digital disruption thing, delayed payment for goods or services, lack of awareness about government policy and regulation, improper supply chain, price competition, heavy discounting by e-commerce platforms. That's again kind of part of the whole digital disruption, we can say. And funds management, especially in well-funded startup. That is something we see. Like there was this meme doing rounds on Twitter some days ago that Cred spent 72 crores to earn 1 crore. So those kind of news keep coming every once in a while, wherein these well-funded startups are just burning money to kind of earn a very minuscule amount of revenue. So one quick last poll. After that, we'll deep dive into this, because I'll be taking some of these things in the forthcoming slides. I want to just quickly know how many of you know about this. Another 10 seconds and then we'll wrap up. No more polls, I promise. Great. Thank you, everyone. So as you can see, leasing is the most known, whereas trades factors is the least. And we will be covering trades now only. So without taking any further time, we kind of understand what is trades. Trades stand for Trade Receivable Discounting System. It is a digital online platform for discounting of both invoices as well as bills of exchange, and it was launched in 2017. So RBI has granted license to three platforms. One is M1 Exchange, second is RXIL, and third is InvoiceMart. Uh, in the last 3 years or so, and this is slightly dated, I don't have the FY20 end number. They had discounted invoices up to 6,000 crores. But today, when I was kind of giving finishing touches to the slide, I came across another number, which is basically uh, Trade is able to, as a platform, manage only 1% of the total 20 lakh crores worth of unmatched credit in the MSME sector. So, which is roughly 2 lakh crores worth of invoices they will be able to discount in a annual basis going forward. And that is a very minuscule number. So why such a big innovation has not worked? First, what we'll do is we'll understand what how trade works, and then we'll get into why it is not working. So the broad process is, first of all, any MSME seller has to register on trade, and at the same time the buyer of goods or services has to also be registered on trade. It's an online digital platform, and the buyer basically agrees to discount and honor the uh, invoices as and when they are presented. So now how the process works is the seller uploads the invoice. The buyer has to accept the invoice on the trade platform. Then the invoice is put up for auction, and then there are banks or financial institutions, both PSU as well as private banks, who kind of bid for that, and the seller can choose. So it's an auction, formal auction, and the seller can choose which financial institution he wants to go with. So whosoever is offering the least amount of discount rate is what the seller will obviously choose. And once the invoice has been agreed upon, it is discounted, and the financer account is debited and seller account is credited. And on the due date, the financer follows up with the seller, oh sorry, buyer, and gets the payment. Now, these whole trade platform beauty is it is without recourse for the seller. So nobody can kind of later on come back to the seller that okay, your buyer is not paying your invoice. Now you give me back the money. So the financial institution will go after the buyer only to recover the dues once the buyer has accepted. And this is the major reason none of the companies are empaneling on this trade platform, despite being very transparent and seamless for and beneficial for MSMEs. Now, the problem here is that the government has enabled this platform, but it is not giving the regulatory push. Like what government needs to do is that if companies above a certain size need to be on trade platform as far as SMEs are concerned. Otherwise, there is no alternative. Now, coming to the next source of funding for startups, early stage startups, is P2P platforms, peer-to-peer lending, you must be knowing. There are these platforms which is like FairSend, Lending Club, Lendable, and all these. So basically, these are lending platforms for individuals. So small business people who have requirements for any of these personal or professional purposes can go and borrow money on this, and the rate of interest varies from anywhere between lower side of 12% to as high as 28-30%, depending on your CIBIL score. So mostly people who don't have a good credit history or who don't have a history at all find these platforms very beneficial because it is giving credit at a very short notice. There are certain guidelines from RBI on this, which is basically uh, a lender can lend only up to 50 lakhs. So suppose if I am lending on the platform, maximum I can lend on across various platforms is 50 lakhs. And a single lender can give a loan up to only rupees 50,000 borrower. This is more to de-risk the whole thing. Maturity of the loan cannot be more than 36 months, and maximum borrowing a borrower can have is 10 lakhs rupees across all platforms. There is pressure on RBI to increase this amount because it's in today's world, especially for if you are trying to run a business, 10 lakhs is not a big amount. There are further guidelines in terms of these P2P platforms have to register with the RBI, and the whole fund transfer has to be through escrow account. All borrowers and lender agreements have to be there, and appropriate KYC has to be done by the peer-to-peer platform like the FairSend and the Lending Club and all these guys. Coming to the next source of funding, which is for equity, and there's this concept of crowdfunding which has come into India in the last few years. It's a very common concept in the Western countries. So people who are mentors, advisors, angel investors, or syndicates, they can invest in companies. So again, there are multiple kinds of crowdfunding platforms. So there are not-for-profit crowdfunding platforms which help people who are in distress, like Keto or Milap and all these guys, who help people who are from a poor economic background and want to raise funds for their healthcare or any other economic needs. Then there are project-based platforms which basically give fund for technology support or for creating a prototype of a product. And then there is this equity platforms which are mentioned on the right hand side, which is like Let's Venture, Fundable, Traction Syndicate. So in India, due to regulatory requirement, uh, which the Companies Act prevents floating of prospectus in case of private placement to any number of people. These are basically privately held group of people who empanel high net worth individuals or angel investors to kind of look at proposals, and it is privately circulated and funding being done. There is a requirement in terms of the company has to be in 1-2 years of existence. The product value proposition has to be established. The capital should be needed to expand the customer base, and the company should already be revenue generating even if it is in a loss. This slide is basically summing up various sources of funds which are there in the Indian context. And if you see on the x-axis, the sources are listed, which is debt, equity debt, barter kind of arrangements, and others. And on the y-axis, it's basically the cost of funds or the rate of interest. And if you can see, the most costliest is obviously the credit cards, wherein many startup owners or SME owners max their credit cards in the business, and it's not a very smart strategy because the cost of fund is 36 to 42%. And in case if you are using your credit card to run your business, then you better earn more than this amount of profit. Otherwise, it's a very stupid kind of decision to use a credit card, except for a short term kind of arrangement wherein you are falling short of cash for some time and using your card, and then you are paying back the money. So credit card is not something which I recommend for a long run as a source of finance. But then there are others like venture funds who typically expect a 20 to 25% internal rate of return, or all these sources, which some of which you are already aware. So I will not go through each of these items. Most of it is self-explanatory. Interesting part is this barter kind of arrangement wherein you enter into some kind of exchange of goods or services uh, in lieu of getting some benefits from the other party. So classic among this is the media barter kind of arrangement, which Times of India and Hindustan Times have pioneered, wherein they take a share in your company in lieu of giving you some advertising space on their newspapers or radio or TV channels or internet platforms. And again, there is a IRR built in that, which is in the range of 15 to 20%. And on the rightmost side is basically some of the non-fund based sources. So basically, by planning your requirements in such a way that you don't spend upfront. So we have now the whole digital economy wherein almost everything is available as a SaaS, software as a service. So be it your simple office license like Microsoft Office or all, which can be used as a deferred payment instead of upfront payment, or even the cloud, AWS and all. You can also look at getting some senior people to work for you on a retainer or a part-time basis, or ask for customer advances. You can look at various government grants and incentives which we discussed. You can participate in a lot of these hackathons and win prizes. Managing with your own revenues. Many people who are just wanting to start up and still working can moonlight and see if they can get various resources. So this basically is a snapshot of what smart work can be done while starting up or while running your uh, enterprise. Uh, we will now come to some important capital management rules, and this is important for anybody who is doing smart financial management. So first is, you should never invest your money without ensuring that whatever assets you are acquiring will generate a return which is at least equal or more than the cost of your capital. So let's say we were looking in the previous slide that the venture capital industry expects a minimum 20% IRR. So if you are investing in fixed assets which are returning less than that, then definitely you will not be able to return that kind of money, which is their expectation over a 5 year period. And that is why if you see most of the venture capital investment advisors, they don't encourage investing too much in fixed capital assets. Rather than they want to fund your OPEX so that your return on investment is much higher. Second thumb rule or golden rule for capital management is, you should invest your money in such a way that your assets will generate an inflow of fund before liabilities demand an outflow. So if you are investing in an asset, or you are buying an asset, machinery or equipment, or you are kind of putting it in inventory, you should ensure that your machinery should be able to produce goods, or your inventory should get liquidated before your vendors come asking for money, or before your financiers ask for return on their investments. So these rules have been taken from the book called Romancing the Balance Sheet by Anil Lamba, who's a reputed chartered accountant. And this is something which should be borne in mind by all businessmen. We come to the slide on working capital optimization. So this is again a pain area, especially for MSMEs during this tough time. So what you can do is execute some robust agreements with your customer with watertight terms. So there has to be some kind of recourse so that they are not able to easily default on your payments. Also set broad credit limits for your customers. So if it's getting due past, let's say 90 days and a certain threshold, for example, you can either stop selling or delay dispatches to customer so that there is a pinch on the other side to deliver also. So as far as payments is concerned. Also, you need to track receivables using the Pareto's 80-20 rule, wherein like maybe 20% of your customers may be owning 80% of your amount, and focus on those 20% customers for recovery rather than broad basing the recovery effort. Uh, Final, last but not the least, is you should consider a prompt payment discount anywhere between 1 to 2% if the customer is willing to pay you early. For inventories, you should look again to use the 80-20 rule to classify high value in items and ABC type of inventories. You need to identify the slow moving inventories in the 80% value category and focus on liquidation of those high value items so that your cash gets freed up. Uh, Also, look to negotiate with your client vendors to give you discounts so as to optimize the cost of inventory. As far as vendors are concerned, again, you need to identify critical and non-critical vendors. Critical vendors you need to support through and ensure that they are paid within the credit period. Again, try to negotiate like you negotiated with your customers. Try to negotiate early payment discounts with large and critical vendors so that the cash management is in a healthy range. We are coming to the last leg of our presentation. I have 3 case studies for you. After that, I'll open this up for questions if there are any. These are based on the schemes which we discussed so as to kind of give you a practical implementation of how smart financial management and using government schemes helped certain companies. I will not name the people and the companies in this case because of the client privacy requirements, but broadly give you what exactly happened in such cases. So the first is the CGT SME King. I receive lots and lots of complaints from entrepreneurs that we are not able to crack this whole CGT SME jigsaw puzzle. But I have like one great success story in this case. So there was a small service entrepreneur who was registered under the SME thing, Udyogadhar, and this is around 2.5 years ago ka case. So this gentleman went to Yes Bank of all banks. At that time, Mr. Rana Kapoor was at the helm, and Yes Bank was a very hotshot bank, darling of the stock markets also. So he applied under the CGT SME scheme, and he told me how he went about it. So this fellow, coincidentally, is a chartered accountant also. So he basically was knowing all the rules in terms of the RBI guidelines and everything. So one fine day he goes to his bank and he asked the manager to give him the RBI circulars which are kept in any bank branch. And while going through the circular, he obviously has to come across the CGT SME scheme amongst other schemes which are there from government and RBI. So immediately he says, I want loan in this scheme. Now the manager is taken aback because it is there in the scheme and he can't refuse. So he says, sir, we don't lend under this scheme. So this gentleman starts arguing that why don't you lend? You have to tell me a proper reason. So obviously the manager doesn't have a proper reason. So finally he said, okay, you give me in writing, you don't lend, then I'll see what I can do. So the manager, after much dithering, he says, okay, sir, you do one thing, you give me the application. I'm sure it will get rejected, but at least I don't have to bear this whole stress of saying no to you. Let it come from the head office. So he gives the application, our friend, to the bank manager. And 3 months pass by, the bank manager is transferred. There's another lady bank manager who comes in. He keeps on pestering her. That lady bank manager also says, no, we can't do it, and dilling, dallying the whole thing. Then finally, one day, this fellow runs out of patience. So he writes a mail to the chairman, which is Rana Kapoor, outrightly threatening that he will go to the RBI saying that you guys are not giving me loan under the scheme if he doesn't receive a response within 3 days. Immediately the next day, the bank manager calls and says, sir, your loan is sanctioned. Please come and do the formalities. So basically, what is the essence here or the takeaway is you have to A, be persistent in your approach. B, you need to have a escalation matrix in place in terms of whom you will escalate. So this could be either the in case of large banks, you need not straight away go to the chairman, but then there are zonal office, nodal office, or the grievance officers, or finally the last resort is the RBI ombudsman and the finance ministry. But broadly, if a approach is there, things work out. So that is case study one. Case study two is basically a company which wanted to invest significantly in plant and machinery, didn't have the kind of cash flow, nor did they have uh, just, nor did they have the fair withdrawal to give the collateral for additional work loan. So what did they do? They scouted around. Now, there are two types of leasing companies in India currently. One is basically companies like Rentworks, for example, or they are now known as Rent Alpha or OPC. So these companies basically what they do is they lend you a leasing solution at around 15-16% IRR, and then later on they basically discount your lease rentals with any of the bank or financial institutions. So if you are not getting loan from bank or financial institution, you might as well not go to these kind of leasing companies, because if collateral or credit rating is an issue with these institutions, then you might not go to these companies. But then there are companies like Origa Leasing, which kind of take the risk on their balance sheet. So these companies basically lend on their own balance sheet strength to the company, and they are using new age credit assessment techniques. So this company which I am talking about was able to get leasing solutions. So what they did is basically they deferred their cash flow in terms of lease rentals and ensured that they were able to get money out of their asset. The rule 2 of which we discussed of smart financial management, wherein the asset starts paying before the liabilities demand a output, and that ways they were able to manage smartly the finances of their company. The third thing is around working capital issue, the futuristic cash flow case study. In this case, a company basically had good marquee clients like the Aditya Birla Group or the Reliance Group, but again they needed funds to finance their expansion. And again, the banks were not able to lend because of their credit rating and all. So what they went to an NBFC, and NBFC basically looked at their clients and they said, okay, we will create a escrow mechanism wherein we will block your cash flows for our loan repayment first, and then give you back the balance amounts which are there from your future customer payments. So there was a tripartite agreement signed between the company, the marquee accounts like Aditya Birla and Reliance, and the NBFC, and the company received funding for this requirement. So these are basically all small companies which were able to overcome the fund and cash crisis by using some smart solutions. And basically, this is to demonstrate that no challenge is insurmountable as long as you put on your thinking caps and keep on pegging away at the solution. So, with this, friends, I come to the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take questions, and I'm glad I am been within time. So, please feel free to ask questions. Unmute yourselves and ask.
Yes, so you can actually stop the screen share and we can go to the gallery view. So all of us can put on our video and see each other and chit chat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was indeed an informative presentation. Especially, I like the benefits which are being extended to startups in Maharashtra because being a Mumbaikar, that is something of my interest. That what and how I would get benefited.
Yeah.
So thanks, Srimant, for this insightful presentation. And the floor is open for question and answer. Who'd like to go first, or we go the TMI way by asking each and every individual
I think
to share
Abhay
their
is
questions?
raising
Yes,
his
Abhay is
hand.
already there. Yeah, Abhay, go ahead, and Nilay goes next. So, Abhay, please share your question, feedback, and query, whatever.
First of all, Simant, it was really very informative. It was as if learning a newer way of doing business. Very eye opening, and of course, the last discussion what we had in Nagpur was equally informative. But today it was to the point and to the mark. Now the issue is there are so many things which are happening into the market which are a support system already available. But there is no ecosystem which actually feeds or which bridges the entrepreneur with the things available. Okay, an entrepreneur keeps on fighting for funds every now and then, and there is no bridge which is bridging his problems and reaching him to the solutions. Is there some place where you can have it all at one place, or do you need to have friends like Simant?
So we are getting there, Abhay. If you ask me, a couple of years ago, a lot of this information was in the very private domains. I have been in the industry for last 20 years, but even like 5-7 years ago, even I was not aware of some of the schemes and incentives which government had, because they were launched and only limited people used to get it information, and then there were these fixers and agents and middlemen who used to just set it up, or even sometimes professionals like us, but there was a very limited set of people. One thing which has happened in the last few years is government is sensitive to making this whole information public in the larger domain. So they publicize, like the Maharashtra scheme, which Chintan Bhai also mentioned. Even I was unaware, but a mail came from Maharashtra government, Maharashtra Innovation Society, to me, announcing the new schemes. So what you need to do is, like some of the websites I have mentioned in the presentation, and I will be sharing this with Chintan Bhai so that he can mail it to you. You can go through these websites, understand the schemes in detail, and enroll. What is important is just give your mail ID, because later on, whenever a new scheme comes, you will be automatically informed. So that is the way I would go going forward.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thanks. Nilay, if you can put on your camera and share your question, query, feedback.
Yeah, thanks. One of the advantages of lockdown is I'm taking an evening walk, and these are some of the best what should I say things I had on my earphone during this time. So I won't switch on my camera right now, but please what should I say, excuse the background noise. Though I mean I'm in Nerul and there's birds chirping around, so that's a good thing. Thanks a lot, Hemant. It was very nice and a lot of information, some of it which I was not aware of. I had the opportunity of meeting you a few days back, but excellent viewpoint. This is just one feedback. I am in the services industry, and it has always been a challenge. You rightly said the banks are helpful, but sometimes when it comes to the service sector, they throw all kinds of oddballs at you. But like you said, be persistent, and if you keep pushing, they will have to wield away. Your example of the chartered accountant, getting his way through is kind of a motivation to push through that.
We discussed this.
Yeah. The other thing, what I think, I mean, I'm just giving this as a feedback, is though there's a lot on startups in the country. So these are all the youngsters, high tech startups that come up. There is very little when it comes to equity funding. This is what I'm aware of. I mean, I might be totally wrong. There's very little that is there for companies who have already got a foothold into their revenue and would like an equity participation to basically leapfrog or jump up. I mean, this is very similar to place that we are in right now. But since we are not looked at as disruptors, the interest level is very low, though we are revenue generating. And I think somewhere in all this, there is so much on this valuation kind of thing, that is there. The revenue for startups, somebody making money out of the business, I think unfortunately is not considered. So we're just hoping that, some kind of an ecosystem develops where people who've already been into business and want to ramp up, there is some kind of equity support that comes from a group of people or a, what should I say, venture fund investors or banks. I mean, that's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. So thanks for your comments and inputs. Only one point I have to make here. So it's not like there is no ecosystem. Things are getting better every day. And what we need to do as entrepreneurs is somewhere work on our communication also, because I feel most of the times we are not able to communicate our growth story in such a way that it looks appealing to the investors. I mean, I'm not saying you have not done it or you haven't tried. I'm sure you have tried many times, but essentially what a VC would look is, can I double my returns in 5 years minimum and exit? You have to think from an investor perspective. As long as you are able to sell that whole opportunity, that yeah, this is like something, even if it is in a segment which is not so glamorous. So we have seen VCs investing in FMCG and some consumer products also, B2C, and even there's a lot of investments happening in B2B segments also. So it's not like they are investing only in technology bit. There is the brick and mortar businesses also which are raising money, as long as there is growth and profits on the table. So that is something. If you are able to find a hyper growth opportunity which has decent amount of profits, I'm sure any VC would be lining up in front of you, irrespective of your age in business.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. We now go to Ankush.
Yes. I want to give just my feedback, not my question is there. But after your presentation, I was thinking that my CA is my financial advisor, and now I concluded it that my CA is not my financial advisor. Both are different things. So earlier when we start our business, I'm doing my business since last 13 years and it is successful. There is no problem. But when in this Modi era, basically, when we are ready to do everything and ready to give everything best of our knowledge to market, so we are really feeling bad that we don't have a good financial advisors, and we are still thinking that our CA is our financial advisor. But in this year only, I come to know, and I I come to and stand on the thing place that my CA is only there to clean the garbages in my account, nothing else. Because many of the CAs are very old ages and they don't know the scenario. Some of them don't want to learn actually. So most of them don't want to learn. So now I am very sure that if you have to grow your business, you have a separate financial advisor than a CA. but likely to say that there are very lack of such kind of financial advisors as well. So I'm very thankful to you that such type of informative sessions, if you I joined first time, but it was very wonderful for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ankush. And now we go to Professor Murthy. Murthy, sir. Okay. Sanjay ji, Darshil, Rajiv Gupta ji.
Extremely good presentation. In fact, most of the points which you brought about, I have not been aware of so many things. So I should now deep diving into this, where I can, get my funding and all. And I will request Chintanji to share your presentation.
Sure.
And then maybe I can trouble you for some of those times to get. We are from Delhi, not from Maharashtra. So
we can speak today's time and age. Digital is and technology is the way to go. So physical distance is not an issue.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sanjay ji. And now we go to Darshil. Darshil, if you can unmute yourself and share your feedback, questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chintan sir. I would like to say this was very informative for me, as I myself am just into, I'm a financial advisor only, but I've started just my way like 2 to 3 years back. And thank you for the making aware about the schemes and everything. I'd like to share that NSE Emerge ITP platform is available for the startups to list their entities, and you can either get investors also from there, and you can escalate your growth through equity segment and escalate your market caps over there.
Yeah, I am aware about it, Darshil. Thanks
Yes,
for
sir.
your comments. Both BSE and NSE have a startup or a early stage SME platform for enabling listing. And the challenge is there is not enough liquidity on those platforms. So,
Okay.
I mean, the SEBI rules are that the merchant banker has to do the market making for 3 years, and for that you need to have that kind of deep pockets yourselves. So it's a chicken and egg story, if you ask me. So that's
Correct.
why the government has to see. The problem in our country is many of these schemes are very, very innovative, like the TREDS platform also we discussed. The challenge is in the implementation, because it's like a half-hearted sometimes or a half-thought of implementation, and that is where we have to engage with the government
bigger
agencies.
people. Yeah.
And I mean, today only afternoon when I looked at those TREDS number, I reached out to a very good friend in HDFC Bank who is at a senior position, that can we kind of raise this with the finance ministry and RBI to do something about this, because this is very poor set of numbers as far as the whole platform is concerned.
Correct. Yeah. So in basically they should come up with a certain either they should come up with new sets of formulations or something, so it is easy for others to get the fundings and to list up.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And thank you so much, sir, for this
Thank
session.
you. Welcome.
Thanks, Darshil. Manoj bhai, do you have any question, query, feedback to share? Mr. Parab?
Yeah, Srimanji is, yeah, somebody stop. Srimanji is very informative and a great session. Yeah, at this point is very difficult because it's beginning for me. let's I'll look forward and I'll do more study, and then I will able to discuss more in this. Okay, but thank you, and is very informative session.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Manoj bhai.
Thanks.
Dr. Yogita, Amit, VK,
Amit
kindly
has a
unmute
question.
yourself and share your question, feedback.
Hello.
Yeah, Amit.
Hello.
Yeah, VK,
Yes,
go ahead.
yes, sir. Thank you, Sanket sir. Just I have one query, sir. I am from Pune, and how we can get benefit from electricity benefits, sir?
So, if you are registered under the MSCB Udyam registration, take a printout of that and apply to your electricity board, stating that, and you can have these details on their website also. What is the percentage they give? So again, you'll have to go there and chase a couple of times, but it is passed on to you in terms of the benefit.
Okay, sir. But many times I have visited to this office, but they don't know about this scheme, sir.
So you need to maybe go to the head office in that case, or the central office in your city. Many times the local officials are unaware, so you have to kind of escalate this.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for information.
Thanks, Seemanth, and thanks and also for organizing this. I've heard Seemanth earlier as well, and I know he's quite detailed and comprehensive coverage as well. And we have had a chance to interact and work together as well quite some time years back as. So it was quite useful for me as well. And there's one small query which I had. So typically on the Trades platform, the other party, the counterparty, the invoice which you are discounting, does it necessarily need to be rated a good large company or a rated company or something like that? I mean, or like anybody else, any list private limited companies invoice could be discounted there. How's the experience has been on that side?
Generally, it has to be a large company. It could be a private or a public company, but it has to have some kind of rating. Otherwise, the banks will not bid on that invoice.
Okay.
In the
and this rating is typically, say, an external your credit rating agency rating.
Right.
That. Okay. Yeah. And does the rate come out to be better than, say, a working like a CC line? What?
Again, it is in that range only, maybe 1-2% here or there. But it's like instead of going the conventional way of kind of getting yourself rated, you are kind of getting a rating on your customer, and that's why the discount rate is better. If you ask me.
That's nice. Okay, thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining in. Rajiv Gupteji, do you have any questions to ask?
Yes.
Yeah,
very
please go ahead,
thankful. I join others, in appreciating Simanji for his very nicely structured session. Particularly, I'm very interested in this production-linked incentive scheme. This is recently launched in this budget, and let us see how it works in a year's time. Because many schemes are launched and afterwards, we are not able to get right feedback about it. So let us see what is going to happen. At least we came to know that so many things. Thank you, Simanji, and thanks to Chintanji for arranging the session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Murthy sir, do you have any feedback to share? Any questions, queries? Okay, now we move on to Shalini. Shalini, do you have any feedback, question to share?
Thank you, Chintan bhai. Thank you so much. And Simanth, it was a wonderful session. Enjoyed it thoroughly. Most of it, of course, I was supposed to know. But I too have a query. You explained very nicely about the schemes that are available. Government has also facilitated a lot of loans which is possible for entrepreneurs. As a common person or as a person who is in need of such loan but the banks are denying, is there any platform from where I can view how much a particular bank is supposed to disburse and how much it has actually disbursed? Because otherwise, how to hold them accountable?
Yeah, so there is no platform, but I would say RBI carries out these reports wherein they are kind of giving a detailed stats around what was set aside. Let's say MSMEs come under priority sector lending. So, what was the target for priority sector lending and how much it has been lent? And broadly, there are targets for banks also. So, all those stats can be taken from the RBI annual report, but there's no real-time platform or a dashboard kind of thing, unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. On behalf of all participants and TMI community, indeed, we are grateful to you, Simant, for sharing this knowledge and helping us understand the schemes and benefits in a more better way. Thank you so much for this session. And we can formally conclude the recording and have a free will chat now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you can stop the recording now.
Yeah.
So until you stop it, it wouldn't